Hey, we're live. It's Saturday night, and I'm, you know me. I'm Richard, and you know that guy over there.
There we go.
That's
We're getting our
Brian.
directions slowly.
Yeah.
Hi,
that's
everybody.
Brian.
And aha, look at that. I got it.
If you're wondering why I'm hoarse and Brian, it looks really tired, it's because we were out launching rockets today, and we've been up since 5 a.m.
Yes.
Getting things packed and ready to go, and then it was 2 hours. Well, no, it was three and a half hours on set. So you guys will get to see some of that on Wednesday. We're going to show off our catastrophes, our
I wouldn't say
successes,
it's a catastrophe, but yeah. Well,
our minor mishaps. I'm not going to spoil anything, but that's what we're doing. So welcome to those that are in our chat room tonight. We've got Joseph Jolly, Ben E. Brady, Guy the Jedi from Northeast Ohio, Rex Waldy, Dominic Versetto. We got David Sell. Thank you for Dominic saying Happy Canada Day. That was a few days ago. Yes, we celebrated
happy
Canada
belated
Day.
Canada Day.
John Kitchen, Louis-Eric Simard, and we want to say happy 4th of July to all of our American friends that are out there, and those that are American and not in America, happy 4th of July. Hope
We'll
you guys
just
are
consider it General Celebration Week.
Yeah, that's right. I think people should go out and set off fireworks. We kind of did.
Yeah.
We kind of did. They were explosives.
I'll tell you what we did. We did something. That's for sure.
Yeah. Hey, there's Pierre from Edmonton. Rob Waltz, good evening. Lip Service Crew, hello. Welcome everybody to our live stream. This is Call for Help. Ask for Help. This is Ask.
No,
Call
we
for Help
can't
was
call
another
ourselves
show.
that program.
Yeah, Call for Help was another show with a very talented
Leo Laporte.
man. Leo Laporte, yes.
Yeah, and on G4 Tech TV, man. That's putting us back a few years.
That is, yeah, absolutely. And of course, he runs his own empire now, which is
yes, he does.
Which you guys can always go check out, the Twit Network, if you're interested in that. Here we're giving out a shout out to Leo Laporte. I haven't watched any of his stuff in I don't know how long, man.
He's still got the same level of enthusiasm that he did in the 90s. I got to give him credit for that. You know, in the tech world, it is really hard to stay enthusiastic about things, especially when they go stale, but he pulls it off. Yeah,
he sure does. For a guy that's, I guess he's in my age bracket, he does a amazing job of still staying current into tech and really pushing the boundaries of the information that he gives. So we'll give him a little shout out. I want to give a shout out to the Airdrie Space Science Club. I hope I got that right.
Yes, you did. ASST.
Yeah, they were on hand today to help us with our launch. We gave some rockets away. We kept some rockets. I need some water.
Yeah. He's dying away here. Yeah, we had a great time. And I'm gonna see if I can give you a screen capture just to get your whistles a little wet for this upcoming week. It was a fun day. You know, I haven't launched rockets since probably the late 90s, but nowadays it's a little more difficult to get permits, and we learned quite a bit about the permitting today, actually. So you'll hear a bit more about what we learned and the experiments and everything come Wednesday. I'm just pulling up the video here to see if we can. Let's see. Can I get you guys a screenshot? While I'm getting this, if you guys didn't know tonight's Ask for Help there, just if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. It's actually been a quiet week on the email front, so I'd love to see what's on your plate. I think we saw Pete Sandy was giving us an update from last week, saying, I just wanted to update you. Something for everyone to consider. When using silicone beds, I found the fuse that you suggested was blowing, but I had to upgrade the input connector and the fuse to a 15 amp. 1300 watts draws 10.8 amps, which is higher than the 10 amp fuse. I hope that helps. Absolutely. Thank you for that info. And we'll talk a little more about electrical in the future. That a fuse, it's always going to be a safety protection point. So you're going to want to spec it out and not over spec it. So the risk, Pete Sandy, with doing that upgrade is now make sure your wires downstream are rated for 15 amps or greater, because the fuse may not blow and the wires may melt. So that's my only caveat, if you will, to the fix. But I'm glad it's working, and I'm sorry to hear that it's just slightly over 10 amps.
Just a little over 10. I'm that disembodied voice tonight. If you guys see us having any issues with our stream tonight, it is because we've been experiencing really crappy internet here in Calgary in the Northeast over the last little while. And it's stupid. Right now I'm getting a warning, says my bit rate is not good. So if we start to stutter, that's why. Yeah,
we should be okay there. I am just going to drop this in and see if we can give you guys this little teaser there. Where is it?
You almost had it.
Okay. Almost had it. It's stretching out, stretching out. Here we go. And here's your little teaser. Ooh. Oh, that's giving you a full. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's okay.
Now, this is not one of our rockets. This is one of the club's rockets. But yeah, what an exciting launch. That thing is thrusting at quite a fast rate. So
you blinked and you missed that shot.
Yeah, I was trying to track it, and it was a little bit of a nightmare, to say the least. So yeah, watch for Wednesday. We've got some really cool camera angles on these, and we're hoping to continue with experimentation in the future. So stay tuned.
Yes, we've actually even had a challenge issued to us.
Yes, we have.
We're going to challenge another member of their club. He does 3D printed rockets. He's doing a beautiful Saturn V right now that he showed off to us in its early stages, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And we're going to build the SpaceX with the Dragon capsule on the top. And we found that we can fly fairly big the rockets that were flying out there today, the one gentleman that was out there flying the bigger stuff, he was telling us that you don't need to have any certifications for the level of engines that he was using. And that, to me, was awesome. And those things they were gone. You blinked and they were gone.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's get into some of the questions here. Hey, there's Corey Mack. Welcome. I know I missed Parker Cooper. I missed Mike Hunt and the Park 88. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. And there's Pierre. Question, is there a difference between an 8-bit and 32-bit board, i.e. final product and speed? Yes, there is.
Yes.
It's when you're dealing with 8 bits, it's only 8 bits of information going across. Think of it as lanes of highway. You have 8 lanes on an 8-bit. You have 32 lanes on a 32-bit, essentially. So that's information flowing in and out off those 32 lanes, essentially. So so you're moving more data is what you're doing when you go to a 32-bit opposed to an 8-bit. So it does work a little bit faster. This is the simplest way I can put it for people that don't understand electronics and how that all works.
If you want a boring lecture today, just thumbs up on the chat. But basically, the 32-bit aspect is twofold, and I'll try to keep it a little simple here. The 32-bit versus 8-bit means that the processor can process a command with 8 bits of information versus 32 bits of information. So by default, it can process 4 times more information at the same clock rate. Now, what we're actually seeing now, though, is the 32-bit boards are actually clocked at a much higher rate. For example, the E3 DIP board runs at 72 megahertz. The SKR 1.3 and 1.4 run at 100 megahertz, and the SKR 1.4 Turbo runs at 120 megahertz. Now, your 8-bit board, I might be a little rusty on this, so someone can smack me for this, only runs at 16 megahertz with a crystal 8 megahertz if it's using the internals. So it can process almost 10 times the information on a 32-bit board. Now, what's not being factored in there is the printer runs Arduino code, which is actually being emulated on these boards. They don't natively run Arduino, so there's actually an emulation runtime. So it's not going to be exactly a factor of 10, but it's supposed to be far quicker. So if you put an 8-bit board side by side with a 32-bit, and you're running the same version of Marlin 2.0, you're going to find that the computational volume, if you will, of what the 32-bit board can handle is far superior to the 8-bit board.
Parker Cooper's asking, can food-grade silicone be used on PLA printed bearings? Any silicone can be used on printed bearings. Would I use food-grade silicone? Probably not. And I probably wouldn't use lithium grease either. I would probably use sewing machine oil. The same oil that you would use for a sewing machine. I think that would be a better way of doing things. Now, bear in mind that when that happens, you are creating friction. So when it creates friction, and we lost Brian.
Yeah, apparently OBS decided to commit suicide. I turned my head and it was gone.
Okay.
All right, here you go. And there you go. I tried.
So I would probably use sewing machine oil. It's probably a better oil to use, and that would pretty much be my answer. I don't think I would use food grade silicone or lithium grease or anything like that on printed bearings. Think, because if there's too much friction, you're going to melt them anyway. So
exactly, and to add to that, if you're looking for food grade silicone, you better be using food grade filament. Otherwise, you're defeating the point of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Ben Brady said 3-in-1 PFTE lubricant. I've heard great stuff about that.
Yeah, that's good
but it's not
stuff.
available in Canada, so I've never been able to try it.
Eric, or Louis Eric, he says, I'm upgrading a bunch of printers to 32-bit boards. There are still quite a few bugs in Marlin 2.0 that affected print quality. Would you stick to 1.x for now? Yes, I would, actually. And it's all dependent. Yeah, well, to me, it's all dependent on exactly what machines you're putting them into. If you're putting them into Creality machines, I would say to tweak the code so it uses the proper board and the proper drivers for that board. But otherwise, I would stick pretty much with the Creality firmware. Yes, I know some people are going to get all upset at me and say that firmware is crap. Well, yes, it is, but it works great for their machines. And in all honesty, that's the way that I would do it. So try and find the firmware for the machine that you're upgrading, and then change out the boards, again, using Platform IO, correct, Brian?
Yes, but again, a bit with a caveat here. If he's upgrading to 32-bit boards, you have to go with Marlin 2.0. And this has to do with that Arduino emulation I was talking about there. The Arduino 1.1.9 firmware. Actually, I should call it 1.1.9.1, because if you guys haven't heard, there was a new release of Marlin 1.1.9 this week that incorporates all the bug fix branches of 1.0 to update it. So if you're looking for some of those newer Marlin features, they will be integrated, as far as I've seen, on that 1.1.9. But if you have a 32-bit board, you have to go to the Marlin 2.0. I understand there are issues with certain motion controls, but my simple answer right now is if you keep off linear advance, if you shut off junction deviation and stick with classic jerk, you're actually not going to have too many problems. I have a big machine that I have mechanical issues with, but I'm running 2.0, some bug fix version right now, even on almost all my other machines that are 32-bit boards, and there's actually no printing artifacts. It's just the junction deviation that's a computational bottleneck right now, frankly.
Yeah. Joseph Jolly says, printing ABS with my CR-10S Pro in an enclosure, getting a little warpage using Simplify 3D. Any advice would be appreciated. what's probably happening is if you're still getting a little bit of warpage, adjust that bed temperature. I would play with the bed temperature. If it's too hot, it's still going to cool too fast. And if it's too low, of course, it's not warm enough to stay on the bed. So you got to find that happy medium. It's going to take a little bit of tweaking, but that's what you're going to have to do, unfortunately.
And make sure you have your part cooling fan off and all that good stuff. Get that chamber comfortably warm. You know, I'd even say if you have like a hot pack or something like that, you can throw in the microwave and just throw in there to kind of get that air temperature up. Because the warpage, it's all going to be around the bed, and if there is a path for the heat to seep away, that's where your problem is going to be. Yeah. I even with my first printer, I was talking about this today. I had a Monoprice Mini, and my enclosure for that thing to print ABS was just to put it in a bucket, and that was enough. But as you get to bigger files, bigger items, the bigger your object gets, the longer that layer is going to have access to the atmosphere to cool down. So if just see if your enclosure is working, maybe try printing something small. Do a calibration cube and see if you're starting to see warpage on that, and then slowly increase the width of your objects and see if it is that layer time taking longer. And if that's the case, start bumping up that bed temperature just slightly. Just take it up in little steps. 5-degree increments should be fine just to start seeing it.
Alrighty, Moby1, hello from Bermuda. I'm new to 3D printing. I have an Artillery Sidewinder X1, new version. Do you have any recommendations as to the settings for the printing with PETG using the Cura slicer? In all honesty, when you're printing with PETG, there's two things that you've really got to dial in. A is temperature, B is retraction. Those are the two things you really have to dial in when it comes into PETG. Make sure that your PETG is dry. I don't know, is it a dry heat or a damp heat in Bermuda? I can't remember.
Oh, given that it's tropical, I'm going to go with damp.
I'm going to say so. So you are going to experience stringing. I would kick your hot end up to around 240. Do a temperature tower. We've got plenty of videos on how to do temperature towers in Cura. Follow the video to a T and you'll have no problem doing a temperature tower, starting at the highest amount of temperature that your filament is rated to. Usually filaments on a box will have a low temperature to a high temperature, and somewhere in between is where you're going to find that ideal window for your particular material. Now your bed is going to have to be up around 75, 80 degrees. So that's another factor. If that bed is not hot enough, you may see some warpage. If it's too hot, you may see some warpage. So again, dial those things in, do a temperature tower, and that should solve any problems that you may be having with PETG. We print PETG here in our lab quite often. Brian, you print with PETG, and a lot of our viewers print with it too. And we've had numerous successes with it. Not on a particular Sidewinder, because I don't think any of us actually have one. I know I don't, and I know that Brian doesn't. So. But they're essentially just like the CR-10. So,
yeah, and one thing I haven't really talked about much on the channel here is sometimes it's so filament brand specific. I've reached out to a couple of filament companies and I've said, "Hey, I'm having a bit of trouble printing your filament. What is your successes? What is your recommended settings?" Because a lot of companies will open up and will say, "Hey, we've printed stuff at 240 at this temperature on this machine," and that might be a good starting point. It's okay to reach out to OEMs if you're having trouble. So yeah, I've done that with I've definitely done that with a couple batches of filaments.ca when I wasn't sure if there was a change in the composition between a batch, and they've been great to respond and everything's worked out. So by all means, especially with Bermuda, if you know which brand of filament you're working with too, post it in the chat below. And maybe some of our members in the chat have also worked with that and might have some successes to share. And while you're down there, you can hit that thumbs up button or the thumbs down if you don't like Brian tonight. Leave a comment, subscribe, and ring the bell so you can know when to tune out.
I'm sorry, I have to drink a lot of water.
We are very dehydrated. It was, I want to say it was close to 90 degrees here this afternoon for our American friends, and it was getting a little uncomfortable. We were wearing full coveralls this morning. Richard had a flight suit, and I was wearing Nomex grade coveralls. And even though it was sub 20 degrees Celsius, there were a lot of flies out, and
mosquitoes.
And a 40-minute drive home. Mosquitoes, yeah, a lot of little bugs. It was not very fun.
I was smacking mosquitoes from our launch site all the way back to Okotoks today. So
yeah, it was a long jaunt.
Yeah, it was. As you get that little one that goes right across your field of view.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, if you like tonight's episode, please hit that thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down. We do have Super Chat turned on tonight, so if you've asked a question and you feel like you want to help support the channel, because this is all I do now. I just specifically work on our channel. I work on our website with my wife. We are trying to get things up and running now that we've got time, and a lot of stresses are now starting to subside. We do appreciate each and every one of you. All of our Patreons, thank you very much for your support. We are less than 300 away. We're just a little over 200 away from hitting 19,000 subscribers. So everybody give yourselves a thumbs up for that. We do appreciate your help. And we do appreciate everything that you guys do in spreading the word about our channel and letting people know about the videos that we have. Moby says, thanks much appreciated using Overture White. I actually have Overture White TPU, and I think I have Overture Black TPU as well. I've been printing with TPU now for a little while, making tires for my Open RC project. That might be another one we do closer to the end of summer, but I think Brian and I are both settled on wanting to do more rocket launches this summer and bring you guys along for the ride.
Just so you guys know, any super chat money, I'm going to try to have it put towards the engines to build my Falcon Heavy. I need 27 engines at about $4 a pop, and possibly $500 for bail afterwards.
Yeah, I'll have to go and bail him out of jail, I'm pretty sure. How do you guys get rid of stresses? How do we get rid of stresses? Drink a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna have to clarify on which stresses, if you mean stresses in our material or stresses in the old noodle.
Yeah. There's all kinds of stresses.
We print a lot.
What's that?
We print a lot, and then we just print a lot of stuff, and we end up just sitting in front of our printers for 5 hours, and then our wives yell at us.
Yes. For anybody
Dominic
that
Frasetto was saying he was using paraffin lube. Paraffin to lube chains on his bike might be useful to lube the lead screw. I think paraffin wax would probably cause more problems than it would solve.
I would think
There's not a lot of clearance, right? You know, on a bicycle chain, you have so much contact that it will keep the dust away, but you have a physical, quite a high torque contact coming into contact with that chain. And the 3D printer, you don't actually have a lot of torque on your Z rod. You'll find you can actually mess with your Z rods. Okay, here's my bad admittance time. There's been a couple times with Ender 3s where I didn't program a Z offset into the firmware, and once I did my bed leveling, if it was too high, I just went and turned the screw while it was running. It's not a high amount of torque, so I would not recommend paraffin. You're welcome to experiment, and if you're correct, then cool. But yeah, I would say no. Sorry, Richard, for cutting you off.
No. This is what Saturday nights are all about. They're all about your guys' questions and our ability or inability to answer them. Mike Kirk Jr. Hi from Ontario. Hello, Ontario. I'm kind of new to this, and I've read about Marlin, but can you give a rundown on it? I'm using a Chiron with a Volcano hot end, using a Octoprint and Cura. It seems to print fine. If it's printing fine, don't mess with it. As far as giving a rundown on Marlin, we are Brian and I were talking about that today, and Brian is going to be doing an episode coming up fairly soon on just kind of the typical mistakes that most people make when they're new to 3D printing, and they kind of want to dive in head first into Marlin and try and figure it out and do their own firmware. So he's going to go through some of the pitfalls because he's a little bit better at that than I am. When it comes to Cura and things like that, that's a little bit more my forte, but Brian is the guy that is all about the real hard-working stuff.
I'm what you call a script monkey. What can I say? I mean,
There you
I've
go.
got little ESPs around here everywhere. I've got Arduinos, got Raspberry Pis. I'm a code monkey. So, yeah, if you ever have any questions, just pop them in the Facebook group. But we're gonna go through a bit more in detail as to what all these features are. And I call them features with quotes because I have my own reservations about Marlin 2.0 currently, but a lot of the features in there are still pretty good.
Parker Cooper, he's echoing my sentiments exactly, and I say this almost every week on the show. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you know, when we get new printers, and this happens a lot because a lot of people come to me and say, well, I bought a printer, now I want to add this and I want to add that and I want to add this. Well, you don't buy a new car and then take it to your mechanic and say, put a brand new engine in it. You drive the car, you get to know it, you get to feel it out before you start adding all the little sexy bits, as I like to call them. And it's really the same with your 3D printers or any kind of hardware. You're going to want to use it and get used to using it first before you go ahead and start monkeying around with adding new boards or adding or changing firmware or things like that to better suit you. I would say use the printer. This Lotmaxx Shark that we had the review in on Wednesday, I know I didn't talk too much about the bicolor, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One, I didn't use the bicolor because it just didn't seem necessary to me. Now, the bicolor works just like any other bicolor machine. The CR-10 Pro is the bicolor. CRX is the bicolor from Creality. It works exactly the same way as the Shark does. The problem that I have with Cyclops style hot ends, and that's what these are because there's two inlets and one nozzle. It's typically a Cyclops. My problem with them is that if you don't have enough retraction on them to pull that material back, you're going to end up getting clogs, and that's typically what happens with a lot of people that have those types of systems. And I just didn't want to really get into that, but Lotmaxx has asked me to do a follow-up using the bicolor. Now, when I say bicolor, I mean bicolor of the same material, not by material. I mean, you're not going to use one type of material on one side and another type of material on another side. This is a common misconception among 3D printing enthusiasts, is that when they are using something like this, they think that they can use HIPS and PLA together. You can, but you run a risk of really messing up your machine because you're changing temperatures for both those materials. And it's the same with using PVA and PLA because they are slightly different temperatures, so they melt differently. So if you're having that issue and you're getting clogs because you're using two different materials, that is probably the reason why. Some people have had success with it, but the majority of people do not have success with it. So if you are buying a bicolor machine, remember that it means that you're using the same material in both extruders, okay? I just want to really make that clear because a lot of people seem to have a misconception about that.
And go back and watch our review on the CRX, even if you're not planning on purchasing that machine, because that was probably the first machine we saw that introduced mixing nozzles on the consumer market. If you go and see one such as some of the Flash Forges, the Flash Forges actually have separate nozzles, and you get and you basically get that additional control. But I think pretty much all of our criticisms of the CRX would probably still apply to the mixing nozzles on the market today, which is namely purge block requirements and the lack of multi-material support due to it being a mixing nozzle.
Yeah. There's a couple of questions that have come in. Parker Cooper says, I'm having a blast with my Ender 3. Awesome.
I love my Ender 3s.
I have an Ender 3 that's down right now, but that's because I think I have a Z motor that's having issues. But I do like the Creality products. Yes, we don't talk so much about them too much anymore. We are slowly working with another company. Creality just didn't want to work with us. For whatever reason, they just didn't want to work with us. Maybe we're not big enough for them. We don't have a big enough audience. But
so we had a lot of Crealities to review because Spool 3D, when we were working with them, was bringing those products in to sell anyways, and we were given the opportunity to assemble it and play with it and give our opinion. Now that we're going solo on this, we don't... basically, we're at the mercy of the manufacturers themselves to supply printers, and Lotmaxx has definitely been incredible. I'm not going to lie about this company. I just found their YouTube channel today and started watching some of their manufacturing lines, and it's amazing, honestly. You know, they seem to be really engaged with the community, which is nice. We still love Creality. I'm curious to see what the CR6 there comes out as, but I'm definitely not picking one up day one myself, and neither is Richard. So no. We're going to probably, unless the demand is there or they're willing to send one out, we probably won't be covering that unit.
We have a question here from Ben Stanley. Hello, Ben. He says, I got a question. Was there any follow-up video on the Anycubic Mega Zero? No, we haven't done a follow-up video on it because I really didn't feel that there needed to be one. The Anycubic Mega Zero, I will tell you my initial thoughts on it when I first got it because it didn't have a heated bed. I wasn't a super fan. I really wasn't. Mm-hmm. Getting things to stick to the bed was dumb too. Because it doesn't have that heated bed. So you were pretty limited with the materials that you could do. Now, that being said, I have been printing TPU through that thing like a champ. It prints TPU amazingly well. I've used it for all the tires I've done. Yes, there's a little bit of string with TPU, but that's the nature of the plastic. But I got to tell you, this thing prints TPU like crazy, and I've never had a clog with it. And I really like the machine, but for me, it's a one material machine. Yes.
Now, Richard, do we fix our button?
No, but we will.
So I'm gonna have to say, super chat.
There you go. Dominic Versetto with $1.99 into our super chat. Thank you very much, Dominic. Every $1.99, 99 cents goes a long way to helping us with the show and to keep producing content for you guys. So thank you very much for that. So as far as the Anycubic Zero goes, I like it. I use it when I need to print TPU, and that's really all I use it for. Other printers that we've reviewed, like the Lotmaxx Shark, really like it. Not crazy about the laser. I'm not crazy about lasers on any machine. We do have another review coming out fairly soon on the Toy DIY 4-in-1 by eCube Maker or eCube Maker. We're going to try that. That has a laser on it as well. You know, this is a 3D printer. Yes, and for all intent and purposes, they are a CNC machine, but I don't need to sit there in a room for 20 minutes watching something with a pair of glasses, and I think I've got the glasses down here somewhere. There they are, right there. I mean, I don't need to sit there with a pair of these on for 20 minutes and watch the laser so it doesn't burn down my house. They're a little difficult as far as the lasers go. Go ahead.
I was going to say, same as I found with the Creality laser engraver kit when they came out with it. You know, I don't like the idea of an uncontrollable heat source, if you will, or an unmonitored heat source generating things. I was actually going to go and answer a question here from Lip Service Crew, but first I got to say, super chat.
Thank you, Joseph Jolly, for the $9.99. That really helps out as well.
We really appreciate all the help, guys.
We do. Thank you very much, guys.
Lip Service Crew said, when I do an upgrade on my CR-10S to a micro Swiss direct drive and hot end, how do I know what fan to use on the hot end? Well, I quickly looked up the micro Swiss because I haven't had a chance to actually look at this one in person yet, and I realized all of their marketing materials shows no fan, and that's terrible. So what you're going to use, it's actually engineered to put the Creality shroud back over top of it. You reuse all your fans. So I'm guessing, yeah, I'll take a look at their video and see if they actually show that part. But all their photos, okay, in their product video, if you take a look, they reuse the original fan. I'm personally in favor of sticking with that fan. And I'm going to keep talking, but you guys are hitting that button too much. And I appreciate it. So
Adam Green,
super chat.
Pure Life RC. Thank you very much, you guys. This has been great. Heatstroke is paying off tonight.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is all an illusion.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, Adam, I'm just going to keep saying super chat.
Ken Jansen's asking, what about dual extruders? Do they have the same problem since they have two hot ends and two nozzles? Yes and no. They do because they can clog independently, but you can use different materials in each one. So I have the FlashForge Creator Max upstairs, and in one side I have used and will continue to use soluble or PVA in one side, and then I will use ABS in the other, and it turns out great. It looks great, turns out great. But for the most part, I'm doing all ABS on that machine right now, and really having a great time with it.
Absolutely. I'm going to jump over. Adam, I saw you had a question there, so we're going to go through that.
Yep.
I'm really good with Marlin too. I'm thinking about getting a duet board. I'm not looking forward to learning rep wrap. Is it similar enough? Big curve? My first question is, why do you want to get the duet? Because as much as it's a great board, it's a very expensive board, and I think there are better boards for cheaper on the market that would keep you on Marlin. But if you want to get into rep wrap, I've played around with it a little bit. The configuration side is very different. However, the actual operational side is pretty similar to Marlin. They still use, I think it's about 90% similar G code. There's just a couple of rep wrap variants that's, and I think Marlin is synced up with it now. They've actually been pretty good at synchronizing the two. So if you want to go and get the duet, that's awesome. Ben Bray is saying it's a much higher quality board. I do find your mileage may vary. I think you're guaranteed to get a good duet board, and they have great support. But I've been loading my systems with SKR 1.4s and 1.4 turbos, and they've been a stellar board. Now, I do have external MOSFETs, and that's where I've seen a lot of people's failures was on the MOSFETs, but a MOSFET is a cheap enough part. So if you're willing to go and mount an external MOSFET for both your hot end and your bed, I would say the SKR 1.4 Turbo is probably a better board. And that might swing some controversy in here, but I can tell you guys, doing power checks on my big printer right now, where my new heated bed basically has no limiter on it, I flatline my power supply at 600 watts through, I want to say, I can't remember whose MOSFET it is. I'll have to check, but it's rated for 30 or 40 amps, something ridiculous. And it doesn't overheat. It causes no heat issues. And because I'm using that to cycle the big power, the MOSFETs on the main board will last longer. And that's the only component I've generally seen people fry.
Yeah. A quick question here from Pierre. He says, what brand of 3D printer will you guys be going with? What we're going to promote probably for the next little while, I believe, is going to be the Lotmaxx. They make a really good product. They only have 4 products. That's it. 4 printers, and one right now is on Kickstarter for, I think, till the end of this week or midweek this week. When I checked last,
somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think on Tuesday is their last day for their Kickstarter, but. The Lotmaxx Shark, the Lotmaxx SC-10, the Lotmaxx SC-20, all really good printers. They just work out of the box. You don't have to futz around with them. You put 4 screws into them, you plug in your motors, and you're good to go. Leveling the beds is pretty easy. They're just a really good printer. Now, I know I said that about the Ender 3 and the Ender 3 Pro. They're a very good printer as well. They're easy to assemble. They're easy to level. I just think that the quality control on Lotmaxx right now is a little higher than Creality. And I think they can afford that because they don't have such a big line, and they're not jumping to market to expand their line fast. They're actually taking their time to expand their line. And I think that's a really good thing for them to do.
Now, that being said, the Ender 3 is, if not close to the top still choice for us, just based off ease of use. It's a great machine. I've as I've said every couple of weeks, I fully encourage competition in the 3D printing space. So I love to see all these new companies. I haven't had a chance to play with a Lotmaxx in person, but the Creality Ender 3 has so many products still available on the market right now that, everything's available everywhere, that it's still very highly ranked. When you see the SC-10 and the SC-10 Shark and the new features they brought to that form factor, it is really hard to continue to justify the Ender 3 over it. So you'll be seeing a lot more of the SC-10 Shark coming up. And speaking of coming up, Super Chat.
$1.99 from Adam Green. Thank you very much again, Adam. I think he just wanted to hear you say Super Chat.
I think he did, but the thing is, if you're going to have to keep those up because I'm going to have to start drinking coffees or something to keep my voice.
All right, so I'm just going to switch to my camera here really quickly. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to show you here on this Lucky Cat. I should focus in there right away. Come on. You're on autofocus. So this Lucky Cat, there you go. You can see the detail on this thing is just freaking amazing. I sliced this one, and this was sliced using their version of Cura. Yeah, a lot of people are using Cura again, but the layer lines on this are almost non-existent. This thing's almost dead smooth, and I really, really like what this printer can do.
It's a nice looking machine. I'm kind of I don't need any more printers right now, and I'll be told I can't even have any more printers right now, but I've been eyeballing it. I mean, it's got just enough neat features that I'd like to play with one at least. So, well, we'll see. Richard's got his fingers on it, and it's a very long drive to Richard's house if I want to go and play with it. So
you can come over anytime. John Kitchen, is the Shark fast like they say? Yeah, it is. It's about, I'm going to say about 20% faster than a regular printer. It is very well engineered. Again, they're only using one Z screw, which on a form factor like this small, is perfectly fine. I've got no problem with a single lead screw as long as it's engineered well. And all of their brackets and all of the wheels and everything that they have is just, it's fitted really well. It doesn't have any slop in it, and it really is fitted well.
Yeah, it's a nice looking little machine. I really, you know what, I got to talk about it. That LCD is so cool. I was telling Richard about this today. It almost looks like an old robot programmer, where you got it on a little coily cable and you can lift it off. Like, I didn't even realize that until today. It's definitely worth a check out. What I gotta say I'm impressed with is, for if you will, a beta product coming from a Kickstarter.
Yeah,
I think we got the final product. I don't think there's much they need to do to modify it for production. Yeah, I think it's just good to go. Ben's asking, what board are they using? Have you torn that one down yet?
It is a 32-bit board. It is their own in-house board. It does have stepper drivers that can be replaced. Really what it looks like is an MKS board, but it is their own board. There is a 2208 on the X and the Y. All of the others are all 4988s, but you can easily change those. And I think I'm probably going to end up changing mine at some point. Not that I really need to, but I'd like to try it out and just see how much difference it makes. But yes, and somebody asked about what material this black was. Because it's not shiny, it's very matte. This is a material that was sent to me by filaments.ca. This is the filaments.ca, not the EcoTough, but it's their newest their newest matte version of black, and I got to tell you, this stuff is amazing. I think the reel's still on here.
Is it Canadian Maker Series?
Oh, this is EcoTough. I'm sorry. This is EcoTough.
Oh, it is. It is an EcoTough.
Yeah, it's EcoTough.
That I'm going to simply say, super chat.
Mike Kirk Jr. Thank you
for the $5.
Wet the whistle, super chat. Thank you very much for the $5. It does go a long way to helping us produce this content. Keep my lights on.
At this rate, with 27 engines, we'll have enough power to lift a little toy convertible Tesla.
Should we make a Tesla truck? And then just blow it up? What about putting... I'm trying to think. Let's put an engine inside an RC car.
Ooh, there you go. Afterburners.
Yeah.
Parker Cooper was saying, I found out today my Ender 3 has resumed. My power went out. Thank goodness. Yeah, that power resume feature. You know, I don't give Creality enough credit for this. Creality actually developed that power recovery algorithm, and then it was actually backported into Marlin. And it is a great feature. If you dig into the settings, and when we go into Marlin in depth, I'll cover this a bit more, but if you have power supply senses and everything, you can have it safely shut down. In my experience, after about 2 years or so, I haven't burnt out an SD card from it doing the constant writes on it. So I think the feature is pretty solid. I just wouldn't recommend it if your printer's not dialed in, because when it rehomes on the power up, if your homing is off, you're going to have a little bit of a bad time with it. But that's great to hear it worked out. Yeah,
very cool. Ben Stanley says, I'd love to see that with a big smiley face.
Yes.
Yeah.
I won't lie, I was really hoping for an explosion this week.
I was too.
The engines are too well manufactured these days.
Now, in all honesty, somebody sent us an Estes rocket through Amazon.ca. It showed up here at my doorstep. And it was the Bullpup rocket from Estes. You guys can go and check that out online. And that spectacularly failed today. I hope we got enough footage of it. It went up, and then it went ass over tea kettle and wiggled a lot, and it was like somebody's butt was chewing bubblegum as it was going up.
So the best part about it was the continuous back-to-back failures. I can't say I've got great footage, but I've got good footage of that I think will make you guys laugh, because it cascaded into me being a terrible pilot. So if you want to see that footage, give us a thumbs up in the chat, and we'll add it to this week's video.
Yeah.
And while you're at it, because apparently everyone else is doing it, super chat.
There you go.
Thanks, John Kitchen. I'm not going to have any deep voice left by the end of this.
No,
I have to get
John
nice
Kitchen.
and cozy, and I can get the deep voice going as much as I can, but it gets raspier.
You got that notice before I did.
Yeah, I've got. I'm on fiber internet here, so it's a little more solid. You're buffering all this video data, so
yeah,
it happens.
Yeah,
thanks, John Kitchen. I've said this before, you guys. If you do want to ask a question, and you want to bump it up the list, if you're going to send a super chat, throw a question in there while you're at it, because we love answering questions, and even if you can't super chat it there, type it in the chat, because we only had. Actually, did we even address the one email question we got this week?
No, because I haven't even opened. I haven't had time to even look at it this week.
Oh yeah, it came in this morning, and we haven't been home all day. So apologies for that email. We'll address that one next week there on the live show.
There you go. We're going to get back to regular scheduled programming next week.
Yes.
And then we're going to have fun. Now, for you guys that were asking about the Shark and its laser, this was their file. And you can see
nice.
on the K that it didn't quite engrave properly. Now, this one on the back side is also their file that I sliced or set up for engraving, and this is how mine came out. Now, I don't know if it's because this wood is quite warped. Like, you can see it right there in the... I don't think that I need to play around with it a little bit more, but again, I'm not a huge fan of lasers on 3D printers because I just don't think they're necessary. If you want a laser engraver and you want a laser cutter, this will not cut. The laser is not powerful enough. It won't even cut through paper. Literally.
No, and it's because of regulatory. And the reason
Right.
Richard kind of glanced over wearing the glasses is you will permanently damage your vision.
Yes.
Even by looking at the mark that it's making on the wood. Even
Correct.
You don't even have to be looking at the laser. And this is why the welding glasses out there exist and everything. It's not a safe process. That being said, too, the nature of how a laser engraver works on a 3D printer is very kind of hack job solution, I find right now. So I would expect a laser engraver to actually follow the lines around and sketch something out similar to having a marker attached on the end, and it would calculate its power. Instead, what these ones are doing is they're basically going through scan lines like a TV, and they're drawing a line at a go, and they draw the whole thing, and it does multiple passes to make it darker and darker. And the problem is you need to dial it in for every single piece of material, and usually you have to underexpose it, see if it's good, start it again, and hope that, again, your homes line up or you're going to have offsets.
You can actually see those lines in the scan lines in this particular carving.
Right. And how long did that carving take you, Richard?
This took about 35 minutes.
Oh, wow, that's actually way quicker. I know with the Creality ones, we were talking 6 hours.
Really?
So they must have put a more high-powered laser in this one. That's kind of cool, but scary at the same time. John Kitchen saying he has a separate laser machine. Yeah, and to summarize my comments, if you want to get into laser engraving, laser cutting, look into buying yourself a beginner's grade CO2 laser, which is going to be a big honking assembly. It's going to draw some power. But that thing is pretty darn safe. And if you're only going to do one-offs and little few things there, go to your local makerspace, contact any kind of machining companies. Usually you can get the parts made for next to nothing if you've done the engineering work. Case in point, my CR-10S V, I had a custom bed cut for it on a water jet cutter, which if you've never seen them, they are super cool. I sent them an export from Fusion 360 of what I wanted. Materials all in was a little over $100 Canadian there, and honestly, even just for drilling holes, the amount of money it saved me from misalignments was huge. So, and this applies to 3D printing, as I've told people, you got to justify your purchases sometimes. And so all of us here, I know many of you in the chat, I've known many of you for almost a year. You've got printers, you're using them constantly. That's great. I don't want to sell a person a printer that may only want to print a couple of trinkets.
Yeah, I'm very much of the same mindset. I think if you're going to get into this hobby like anything else, if you're into RC cars, if you're into trains, if you're into flying kites, if you're into, Hawaiian shirts as a hobby, it's like anything else. Learn about the hobby before you go and invest your money into it. I mean, I have tons of camera equipment around here. To me, camera equipment is not a hobby. It's a living. And we recently just added this little guy, which it does say 4K, and the 4K absolutely sucks on here. The 1080 on here is beautiful, but I think the 4K is upsampled because it is very, very grainy and pixelated. So it's upsampled, I believe, from 1080. But for $50, this little camera was, and it came with a ton of accessories. I mean, the accessories alone were worth $50. But this little camera here, I would only put it on the ground underneath a rocket. That's about it. I wouldn't use it for diving, and I wouldn't use it for anything that you didn't want to wreck it with. Now, as far as a GoPro goes, at $400 to $500 for a GoPro, would we like them to have in our arsenal for when we go and do stuff? Absolutely. Can we afford to have them in our arsenal? No. So for setting off things like rockets today, where this was getting hit by some of the exhaust that was coming off the mid-powered rockets, you guys are going to hear what a mid-powered rocket sounds like when it goes off. It literally sounds like you're standing right next to the exhaust of a jet car.
And we shot some of the footage at 1/8 speed at 720p, so
Yeah.
you're going to get to hear every little rumble and shake. And we actually, reviewing the footage today, saw some things we didn't see live because it happened so quick. You know, some of these rockets were, well, I suppose I can tell about the one rocket that it's using solid fuel boosters.
Yes.
And that's the same stuff that SpaceX is launching at, just at a smaller scale. So,
Yeah.
you know, you've seen a SpaceX launch with hundreds of tons of weight, and then here's this thing that's supposed to be as light as possible. And I kid you not, it was a blink and it was gone. So
Now I'm going to ask you guys, and I want you to put this in the comments because we're coming close to the end of the show tonight. What type of rocket would you guys like to see us build and fly or blow up or do something with this summer? Because Brian and I both got bit by the rocket launching bug today in a very big way, and we both want to go back out and launch more rockets and film it for you guys. So down in the comments today after the video is over, please go and put down in there what type of rocket you'd like to see us do. It can be any rocket in the world. If you know a name, if you don't know a name, the Jericho missile that we set off, surprisingly, did not crash and did not explode. So I was really happy about that, but man, was it heavy.
John saying D engine or above. What was that one? Was it a G?
G, yeah. And we can actually fly Gs. Yeah, we can actually fly Gs without having to have certification. So a G engine is the biggest engine that we can actually put into a rocket. So we might actually do that before the summer's out.
Yeah, Louis Eric Samard saying, what height can you reach? I think the max height they were quoting today was 600 feet.
Yeah. I
think there is regulatory, but
pretty close to 1,000. One of ours I did pretty close to 1,000.
Yeah, we had some ultra lightweights there. That's
because they're super lightweight, and we put a really big C engine into it. We put a C6-3, and we'll explain what all that. We'll explain what all that means at another time. But it did. I think it did almost 1,000 feet, 800 for sure, because that's the one we couldn't find for a while in the sky.
Pierre's saying having a rocket to launch would be to install a device to know how high it goes. We had an altimeter, but we were having a few technical issues with it. So we're going to get that one ready for the next flight to get actual metrics.
Okay, you got one more here, Brian.
Super chat.
There you go.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you again, Adam.
You're slowly buying me half a rocket at a go, half an engine. So we'll get there. Just another 53 of them, and we should be okay.
There you
go. Mike Kirk saying, what channel will these rocket explosions be on? They're going to be right on this channel, right on
here.
The first layer.
Yeah,
so
we're going to put them on the first layer.
Be sure to hit that bell and subscribe. You'll be seeing it Wednesday here.
Yep. If you're not subscribed, and you know what? We found out that 72% of our audience that watches this show is not subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, leave us a comment. We read them all. We don't answer them all because we just don't have time. But we do make a point of reading them all, and we try and help you guys as much as we can. And we do appreciate you guys all for being a part of our wonderful audience and being a part of our family, and helping people in our Facebook group and helping people with your comments here on YouTube. And we really, without you guys, we wouldn't have a show, to be perfectly honest with you. And we do appreciate it very, very much. A fellow 3D streamer, Nyers, is very into rockets and has a website for them. Yes, Ken Nyers is very much into rockets. We are going to try and talk to him later on in the summer. And I've watched his show quite a few times, in all honesty. I do like the way he presents himself, and he's got a good following. So maybe we can do something together. And we've got a challenge. We've got to build a bigger rocket so that we can go and challenge another guy from our community. So,
this time we might actually custom engineer them too.
Yeah. A bigger rocket that we're going to build, I don't know what we're building yet. You guys tell us what we should build, and we'll pick a winner and we'll try and build it for you. Again,
within reason, we cannot have a certain bodily shape on the pad. I'm sorry, we had already discussed that earlier today.
Yeah, we have to, because there's kids
it has
that
to be
come out to
appropriate
these things.
for all ages.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we didn't swear while we were out there, even though a couple of times we wanted to.
We definitely wanted to.
We were thoroughly embarrassed by our launch controller. You guys saw that in a video, and the launch controller did not. I think the wire wasn't thick enough to carry the current that it needed to set off the rocket. So we have some definite work to do on the power in our launch controller. What's that?
It looked nice.
Yeah, we got a lot of comments about it. That's for sure.
And it wasn't just us too. You know, they had a couple of interesting bugs as well. I actually had my car jumper pack ready to go in case we needed more amperage. So we managed to pull it all off in the end.
We did. So that's our time for tonight. We're here. We just hit an hour, and I'm going to go and have a drink, and then I'm going to go put my butt in bed. It was we're
very tired people.
It was a very long, hot day. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us tonight. And we do appreciate all the super chats and all that you guys do to help us and keep us on YouTube and keep us producing content. So from myself,
since you guys were awesome tonight,
Brian,
you guys were so awesome tonight, I'll give you a freebie. Super chat.
There you go. And we hope to see you guys again on Wednesday with some of our rocket experiences. And we might do a new shirt, I think. We should do a new shirt with a rocket on
it. Yeah, stick to your day job.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, was that directed at me?
Both of us.
Yeah.
Stick to your day job. We do not belong in SpaceX.
Thank you again for all your questions tonight, and we will see you guys next time, right here next Saturday night for another Ask for Help, and we will have some questions from our email, and we'll try and get you guys through them. The more complicated the question, sometimes we have to take those and do them separately and get in touch with you separately, so please, if you're going to send it to us at questions@thefirstlayer.com, please, by all means, go ahead and put in there that, if it's too complicated, that we can get back to you, okay? Other than that, thanks again, and remember that the First Layer is always your foundation to a great friend. Brian, see you on...
See you, buddy.
On I don't know what day, sometime this week.
Well, at least Saturday. At least Saturday.
At least Saturday, yeah. All right, yes. Take care, guys. You guys have yourselves a great weekend, and happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July, everyone.